It's ADHD Awareness Month.
It is. And somebody actually said Happy ADHD Awareness Month yesterday. And it's like, not really.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on and not a lot of it's good.
But that's why there's an Awareness Month.
Well, there is. But we made a promise last ADHD Awareness Month.
Yes,
that
we did.
If things hadn't improved in the diagnostic process in the UK, that we would march in protest in leopard print at Westminster. And sadly, things have not got better. They have actually got worse.
And not only that, we can no longer legally protest.
No, so they've changed the law, so we can't do that. But what we are going to do is the same way that we approach everything. We're going to do what we can.
Yeah.
All we ever do is muck in from the place we are and do our best with what we've got, basically. And that's what we're going to do. And we're very excited about the plan, which we will share at the end of this episode. So this is going to be a slightly longer episode because our guest had so much to say that we didn't want to cut any of it out because it's all gold. And we've got so much to say.
Yeah.
So
it's a double whammy, but it's ADHD Awareness Month. And yeah, we're just going to put as much into this as we can.
And as you rightly said to me just before we started recording, we don't have the capacity all the time to do bonus episodes right now. So this is it. It's a big bonus start of ADHD Awareness Month, massive episode, which you can obviously take in chunks or do at double speed.
And that's the beauty of it. You don't have to listen to it all in one go.
Yeah, it'll still be here.
It'll still be here for you to come back to and pick up where you left off. Or listen again because it's so damn good.
So I tell you what is not so good is a lot of you have reached out to us about the fact that there is a medication shortage for ADHD medication in the UK just now. The NHS put it out. I've actually got a quote from my wonderful friend Claire Durrant, who said, "This morning I heard from Psychiatry UK that there is a nationwide shortage of all strengths of lisdexamfetamine until mid-November. This will be leaving myself and so many without the medication that is vital to live some tiny semblance of a normal, in inverted commas, life. I can't believe that this is happening in ADHD Awareness Month. Sending love to all." So I wanted to read that because she summed it up so perfectly.
Yeah.
And literally that is our feelings of it. Now, a couple of people have reached out to us and they're like, you know, what's happening and why aren't you saying anything about it and what are you going to do? And truthfully, it's at moments like these that we just need to just take it back to the base level and remind everybody that we are you.
Yeah.
We are you. We're in the trenches with you. We literally found out probably the same way as you did through the ADHD adults post on social media.
Yeah.
That was news to us. That's the first we heard of it too.
We don't have access to this information unless we're out there looking for it. And we have so much going on that we can't.
But even if we were looking for it, I don't even know where we'd look. We don't have inside info. We are just two people riding the late diagnosis roller coaster, dragging others along for the ride as we go. That's all we've got. So literally, we are as afraid as you are, is the truth of it.
Yeah.
It's really shocking. It's really awful timing that feels like a sick joke, to be honest with you. And so we just thought we would remind you that we just don't know. We're in the same boat as you are. But anything that we do know and any information that comes in, we do share it as we get it because we have the platform and it is important to get the information out to anybody. But we were so shocked when we saw it and then everyone was posting about it. We didn't want to add to the conversation because we have nothing to add.
Yeah, and the thing is, as soon as we heard about it, it was a shock to us and a worry to us, like as two people that, you know, struggle with anxiety. And it was just an added piece of anxiety for us. And it's just like, well, what does this mean? What do we do? And so we have to figure it out before we can even
talk about it. We haven't figured it out. What are you doing?
So I've recently been on a medication break because I didn't think my meds were working. So
that old chestnut.
Yeah. And I've just recently started taking my meds again because obviously they were working. I just didn't realise it. What's been good is it's highlighted the areas in which it does work, and it's also shown me the areas in which it's not working, which has highlighted that potentially those areas in which I'm struggling are not a direct result of my ADHD symptoms, but instead a result of unhealthy coping mechanisms that I've put in place due to undiagnosed ADHD.
Yes.
Which is an eye-opener. But anyway, get back to the point, which is, what am I doing with my meds? So I'm back on my medication, but what it's actually given me is that clarity to know where the meds are working. So if the unthinkable happens and I can't get access to meds, at least now I can identify the areas in which I'm going to struggle. I can share this information with the people that this might affect in my life. And together we can try and ensure that I have the correct help and support in place during that time. And with that being said, I think it's really important for anyone on ADHD medications to look at what their medication does and try and identify exactly what symptoms it helps with. And just have a bit of a contingency plan so that if the worst does happen and you can't get access to medication, you at least know the areas in which you're going to struggle most so that you can be prepared for that. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Another thing that I've looked at is potentially just taking half my dose because it still is enough to help me get through. So that might be something that I need to do. But I do worry that everybody panicking right now is going to do the whole pandemic panic.
Like bog roll.
Like the bog roll saga, and go and try and get extra medication so that they've got, backup.
Leaving others without.
Which means that other people, and especially ADHDers who forget and leave things to the last minute, they might be without. So I guess don't panic too much and just make sure that you've got the right support in place and you know what to do if that happens.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm really anxious about it. I'm really upset about it, to be honest, because as I've said on the podcast many times, like the medication takes away my anxiety. I basically was born with anxiety to the fact that I didn't know that I was anxious, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. And I'm lucky in the sense that when I take ADHD medication, that's the first thing that goes is my anxiety. Yeah. So I'm very, very, very nervous to go back there. It's a place I never wanted to go back to. And also, I still have choice paralysis, which would be a really good example of the things that are a knock-on effect of undiagnosed ADHD, but are not necessarily direct ADHD symptoms. Though for some people, that is a direct ADHD symptoms. Like we say, it all presents differently in all of us. But for me, the other main thing that the medication helps me with is task paralysis. Mm-hmm. It is literally, the medication is what has propelled me forward. The medication is what has helped me get things done. So I'm terrified that, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be an anxious mess and I'm not going to be able to get anything done, particularly at a time when I really do have shitloads to do. Yeah. And I've only just reached, literally probably about a week, 10 days ago, reached an equilibrium with this whole perimenopausal ordeal that I've been through. Mm-hmm. So the HRT patches, it all seems to be working like clockwork. I feel clearer in my mind. It all seems to have got to a place of, there we go. And now you're fucking telling me you're going to take it away.
Yeah, it's not a nice spot.
So yeah, I'm not feeling great about it, which is also probably why I haven't added to, I was going to say, the panic of it is because I'm just like, I can't even process the thought of that happening.
You can see how much it's worrying you. You don't want to put that worry onto other people.
But it is happening. So we do have to talk about it. Yeah. But just know that, we are all in this together. I know that doesn't always feel like a comfort, but what we have got in the absence of, timely diagnosis, respect from the mainstream media and all the other shit that we're up against, we now have to contend with the fact we might not have the medication that we fought tooth and nail and waited a lifetime for. What we have got is each other. Yeah. And that's what we have to focus on and pushing forward. So with that said, we do actually have some very good news.
Yes, we do.
So this is a positive that's happening, is the legendary York Disability Rights Forum and our very own head of ADHD activism, the one and only Kat Owens, Canny Campaigns on Instagram. Today's the day, isn't it?
Today is the day.
So we've got a message from Kat for you.
Which I'm going to read out to you just now. So today is the day for the Access Denied team.
Yes!
Huge thank you again to everyone who has supported the campaign by donating or buying the pin. The NHS bosses in charge of the pilot must reply to the legal challenge today, 3rd of October. The letter lists over 100 breaches of statutory obligations and guidance. 100.
It's just disgusting, isn't it?
It really is. 90% of people who have trialled the inaccessible pilot process have been refused referral. 90%.
90%.
Despite claims that the new system prioritises those at highest risk, there are empty words. Vulnerable people who meet the strict criteria, those at risk or harm to themselves or others, have been left without information or support for 4 to 5 months and counting.
It's just disgusting. So terrifying.
So it's unclear what the response will be because the ICB have not made any comment at all so far.
So today is the day that they, if you're listening on Tuesday, the 3rd of October, that they legally have to get back. So anybody who donated to the Access Denied ND campaign to fight for the right to ADHD and autism diagnosis against the dangerous pilot that they were trialling in York, your donations and the donations that came as part of the Leopard Print Army fundraiser pins got it to this point.
Yeah.
So they raised enough funds to send the legal letters. It is happening, and that is amazing. And I genuinely, like, in my heart, I just feel like this is such a catalyst for change.
Yeah.
You know,
huge.
It's so huge. I just am in awe of that lot. The Disability Rights Forum and Kat, they've worked so hard. They're so brave. It's so wonderful that they're there fighting for us all.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just wait to hear what the outcome is today. And we'll let you know as soon as we do.
Yeah.
So that is some very good news for ADHD Awareness Month.
Yeah, and fingers crossed that it continues to be.
Yes. So as we said, this is going to be a longer episode because we've got even more stuff to say, and this is still only the intro, and there's a whole outro that's going to be loads of stuff as well, but we're just going to keep going.
So hang in there.
Because what we realised was that the thing that we really wanted to say as part of this episode is, despite everything else that's going on, is still as important as ever. Because in ADHD Awareness Month, as we try to raise awareness about the condition in the wider society, it really, a couple of emails that we've had, one in particular, really highlighted the fact that we also need to raise ADHD awareness within our own community.
Yeah.
So what's happened is many times over, and I'm sure many more, we get emails and messages and comments asking us to do an episode about motherhood. And one in particular, and I am going to say it because I think it matters, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to give the person RSD. If you're listening, it's absolutely fine, because what you did was highlight a gap that we need to fill. So actually what you've done is a good thing. So please don't feel like you're being called out. But this person very jokingly and very flippantly said, please can you do an episode about motherhood? We know that you're not mothers, but some of us are, unfortunately. It was a joke. Yeah. It was a throwaway comment. But actually, it hurt.
Yeah.
A lot. And the reason why it hurt is because we would like to acknowledge that for both of us, our biggest ADHD tax is that we sit here at 40 years old not raising families of our own.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we know that every time we've shared our experiences, it has helped a lot of other people like us. So we know we want to speak out about it because we know that must be the experiences of others. Now, we don't feel, and there's not time right now, and we don't feel at the right place to actually divulge our stories. But I think it's really important that we raise awareness about people like us. So what we ask for this episode in ADHD Awareness Month is that if you see a person who doesn't have children, please never make the assumption that that is out of choice.
Yeah.
So, Dawny, this episode, we're going to send this episode to every single person going forward who asks us the same question. Yeah. And so to save me writing out this email for the 50 millionth time, take it away.
So if you want to find an episode where we have covered motherhood in some way or some form, then this is where you need to go. In season 1, we have episodes 7, 9, 11, 13, 32, 36, 43, 49, and 50. And then in season 2, we're going to have this episode, which is episode 6. So there's a lot of coverage on motherhood.
We even have the word motherhood in the title of at least 3 episodes I can think of off the top of my head.
So we have covered it, but we're not going to talk about it in every episode because it's not an area that we can.
Yeah, we can only do what we can do.
Yeah.
And that is not something that we can help with, sadly. But I tell you who can. The absolutely legendary angel sent from the heavens, queen of mindfulness, Amy Polly.
This is a fantastic one, so buckle up.
We're so excited that she is helping us grab life by the tits. So enjoy this absolute legend because we love her.
Let's go.
ADHD has females, ADHD AF. ADHD has females, the podcast.
We did it for the acronym.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
Hi, I'm Laura, and we
are
ADHD AF. Seriously.
Well, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Doesn't it just?
Since that recording in May 2022, we have been on quite the safari.
Mm-hmm.
We moved to the same street at the same time, at the same age, with the same undiagnosed neurodevelopmental condition. But despite all of the serendipity and the similarities, our ADHD presents completely differently from each other. But make no mistake, it is equally debilitating for us both.
Over the course of season 1, we used our voices to raise awareness, break the stigma, and share our experiences in the hope that they help others. And unbelievably, it worked, leading us to help listeners in almost every country in the world and creating ADHD AF live events and an online peer support community, for all of which we're so very grateful. Despite all that, we're still just 2 rebels with a cause, having a blether from a tiny village on the beach in Aberdeen, Scotland. 2 pieces of sea glass washed up on the same shore.
Trigger warning. We cover some triggering topics, so please read the description of each episode before listening. We're not medical professionals, therapists or coaches. We're not qualified or even emotionally equipped to offer advice or support. We're only experts by our own experiences, which we share alongside what we discover in these crucial conversations to raise essential ADHD awareness amidst a global crisis. We won't always get it right. We will talk over each other and forget the point mid-sentence. As we continue to unmask, we're attempting to unashamedly own our own too muchness.
We wear leopard print to our events because the leopard is a symbol of Aberdeen. It also symbolises bravery, courage, and the reclaiming of power. Plus, we're a little bit Han.
Yeah.
So that's why it's become the uniform of our leopard print army, our own special camouflage to unite the community.
We're called ADHD as females purely for the acronym ADHD AF. Get it? Because we both have a juvenile sense of humour.
And we swear like sailors. Sorry, mums. And of course, we're ADHD as...
Anyway, this is an inclusive space where all genders are so very welcome.
Yes, they are. So join us as we continue to make some serious noise about this misunderstood condition to help others like us alongside raising awareness with a hope to influence systemic change so that those in need can be treated both medically and with the respect they deserve. We continue on this safari because hell hath no fury like 2 late diagnosed ADHD women.
ADHD has females, the podcast.
Okay, so starting with some quick fire questions. Can you tell us your name?
I can. Amy Polly. Woo!
Great start.
Thank you.
Your location?
This This is really funny. They're supposed to be quick fire questions. This is not a simple answer. I spend 50% of my time in Lincolnshire and 50% in Doncaster. I don't have a straightforward answer for that.
And where are you now?
In Gibraltar.
Brilliant.
Story of my life.
And your occupation?
I am a mindfulness teacher, a mental health speaker and campaigner, and a neurodiversity advocate.
Amazing.
Wonderful.
And your diagnosis status?
I am diagnosed ADHD.
Fabulous. And early or late diagnosed?
Late 37.
Mm-hmm. And how old are you now, if you don't mind us asking?
I'm 39. 40 next year. Whoop, whoop.
It doesn't hurt.
No, it was fine, really. Yeah.
And was it easy or traumatic?
I would say that it was quite easy, but beforehand it was traumatic.
As in, like, life was traumatic, or when you found out about ADHD?
A bit of both. I felt like I was in a bad place before my diagnosis. My diagnosis gave me loads of answers, but then there was a mourning period. So actually having the diagnosis was a positive, but there was a period of transition, I guess, is the word. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And is it me or you?
Can't
remember.
You started now.
Can't start or can't stop?
Can't stop.
Yeah. Can't sleep or can't get up?
Can't sleep. Yeah. A bit of both sometimes.
Fair. Over emotional or impassive?
Over emotional. That was easy.
Texting or talking?
Talking.
Books or audiobooks?
Audiobooks.
Going out or staying in?
My heart was like going out, but I do stay in now. Surely everybody that comes on this is going to be like,
both.
Yeah. We realise that quick fire questions probably aren't that great in the ADHD world, but we're sticking with it.
We're trying it for season 2.
Yeah, it's comedy. If anything.
I love it.
The hardest question of all, cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs. But I really want a cat.
There you go.
And finally, what is your current hyper focus?
Oh, at the moment, I'm hyper focusing on researching how you get something onto the national curriculum in UK schools, because I think that mental health and mindfulness should be in primary schools. So currently, the amount of tabs I've got open are about government papers and legislation and school curriculums. That's my hyper focus.
That's incredible. Go you.
I know, amazing.
That's wicked. So tell us, what got you here? Like, how did you discover that you had ADHD?
I had a baby. That is what happened. So as we just said, I didn't know I had ADHD for 37 years. And I was trundling along through life sort of when you've only got yourself to look after. And I feel fortunate that I had quite a good school, had really supportive parents. And I think those two things really helped me to keep on an even keel with stuff. And I studied hard. I had a good job, all those external things. I always knew internally I was different and I struggled with stuff. But I think when you're still achieving and there's people around you to support you, you sort of get on with it and you don't know any different. So that was me for my life. And then when I had a baby, it just all changed. It absolutely floored me, and I just could not get my head around why. I'd always wanted a baby. I was so excited to be pregnant. I loved being pregnant, and we'd been through miscarriage. I was so happy then to have had my baby, but the birth was a bit traumatic. And then when I got home, I just could not. I just felt like I wasn't functioning normal for me. And so conversations started with my health worker and my doctor, and I had postnatal anxiety. And I think that was a manifestation partly of the undiagnosed ADHD. And so obviously it's been over 2 years now. It was early 2021 that ADHD was suggested. And I just couldn't get my head around. I was thinking, really, what even does that mean? What does that look like? Things had just started to be more present on social media. It was sort of the end of 2021, wasn't it, when we started to see more of it?
Yeah.
And my GP was amazing. And I always say this, that I know that people don't have that, especially now with wait times as they are. But at that time, my GP, she was incredible. We had so many conversations. She did the initial assessment and she was like, I'm pretty sure this is what it is. And then I went for my full diagnosis, and it just answered so many questions. But I'd struggled for 2 years. after having my little one. And I think that this is not talked about enough, because if I'd known earlier, or even known the impact hormones or having a baby would have, maybe I would have managed better, because, as I said, it really floored me for quite a while.
What an absolute ledge of a GP you've got. That's incredible. I think my mind's just like splintered off in two directions. Yeah. I'm thinking about, first of all, we've very recently, in the last few months, learn about how hormones can impact or exacerbate ADHD symptoms. So often like post-pregnancy hormones, perimenopausal hormones, all of that. But what's interesting as well is what you said before about your coping mechanisms, your life, studied hard, you were well supported. So it's quite funny because it is a completely new scenario. Like, even though it was one that you wanted, the actual day-to-day of raising a baby, is that how you say it? Is
hand reading.
Yeah, like you'd be but you'd be like, yeah, Christ, how do I do this? Because your normal daily coping mechanisms and just structure is out the window.
So it would be difficult. It's difficult for anyone. I don't think I know many parents that would say, yeah, it's like walking the park,
piece of piss.
First, no instruction manual. You are keeping another life alive, and you half the time you don't know what you're doing, and you're sleep deprived, and if you are the person that has given birth, then hormonal changes and stuff like that. So I think it's a huge change in your life anyway, regardless. If you're neurodivergent, that change is going to have a greater impact. And if you are undiagnosed and you don't know that you're neurodivergent, then you've got no answers. So for me at the time, it was so hard, and I had real trouble explaining what was going on, because even at the time when I was suffering with that anxiety and I was struggling, I could still talk on stage to people. I like talking, with my job, I could still talk and stuff, but going out with my baby and managing all of those new things, it just blew my mind. I really struggled. Yeah.
And so how long after having your baby did you start going down that diagnosis route?
So I had him at the end of 2018, so to 19 to 20. So it's about two and a half years. Yeah.
To get to that point.
Because don't forget, the first bit, you think, oh, everybody's doing this. Everybody else, it's that whole thing, your whole life of, oh, well, everybody's all right, I just need to get on with it. You do have that, especially with parenting, I think. Everybody's thinking, oh, well, everybody does it. It must just be hard. And my friends hadn't spoken up about some of the things they'd been through. I didn't know one of my best friends had been through miscarriage. I didn't know one of my best friends suffered with postnatal depression, because people still don't talk openly about these things. Yeah. And so part of me at the beginning was like, okay, it's gonna pass. I'll just keep, going. Yeah. Then it didn't. And then you get on Google and you start searching everything, every disorder, every depression, and I still couldn't figure it out. Then I went and asked for some help.
And do you think that it had a big impact on how you felt in yourself as a mother? Did you think you were failing because of the struggles that you were having and not knowing what's going on and looking at everyone and thinking, why are they coping and why am I struggling so much?
Yeah, I was hugely triggered. It's funny because I had a one-to-one client this morning that I was talking about this too. We're all human, right? I've practiced mindfulness for over 10 years, but I'm still triggered. And particularly in that state, I was in a real stressed out state. I was really triggered by someone going having their hair done who had a new baby as well. And I was sat at home struggling to leave the house. Little things like that absolutely, had such a heavy impact on me. And you get that overthinking then. How are they going out and getting their hair done? How fucking dare they go and get their hair done? All of that overthinking. And when I look back at pictures, it's funny hindsight, isn't it? When I look back at pictures, I see how much there was laughter in the house, and he's the brightest button in the room and everything else. But at the time, I didn't feel like I was having any laughter. I didn't feel like there was a good time. I was questioning everything that I was doing. But he was sleeping well, he ate well. As I said, he's bright, he's happy. You look back at the pictures and you see all those moments that we had, even though a lot of them were in the home. We had COVID as well. But yeah, that overthinking, that questioning, it was a lot.
Yeah, it's funny because you've reminded me of our interview with Louise Pink Pear Bear, where she was talking about, so she was diagnosed with postnatal depression, and then in hindsight they realised that it was her exacerbated ADHD symptoms, undiagnosed ADHD symptoms due to the post-pregnancy hormones. But what she says, so it was like a misdiagnosis of postnatal depression, and she says, you know, she really wished that she could have that time back, because it was like she missed those precious like early years when perhaps it could have been treated and not been as severe.
But I think even like that, and I totally agree with her. I love her, by the way. I follow her as well. But even with that, even with having a late diagnosis and feeling like that about how different would my school life have been, my friendships and all of that. Yeah. But my mindfulness practice, thank goodness, really helps me to stop and to notice that overthinking and to say, I can't change the past. So now I've got brand new information. What can I do with that brand new information? And hopefully, you know, help myself with things going forward, and ultimately, I guess, help others as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So you said you were very up and down even after you found out you had ADHD. So where do you feel that you're at on the late diagnosis roller coaster now?
So like that grief cycle, you know, but we see it as a roller coaster because we kind of keep going back round sometimes. Yeah.
And it depends what experiences you have as well, because I find that, I don't know about you, we're all different, we are all different as well as being the same. But somebody can say something or question you that triggers you again to question yourself. Yeah. So it very much depends on the environment around you, the people around you, the questions that you're posed with and stuff like that. But I think that my confidence is growing to speak about it. The grief was heavy the first year. I think, and I'm pretty sure it proves it on my socials and stuff, I didn't really talk about it because I had to sort of process it myself. And I didn't even really like this was brand new to me. So I had to process it and sort of learn about myself a little bit again. But as you say, it's a cycle. So now, coming up against situations, I'm learning to approach them in a different way. So I know the cycles, I know how my emotional dysregulation affects how I have conversations and my reactions, and now I'm trying to approach them in a new way. But this is the first time I've had a go at that. So I'm learning and like relearning about myself whilst also learning in a relationship, because we've only been together a couple of years. So it's amazing because I feel empowered. Like I always think knowledge is power, but it's also difficult sometimes because it ain't straightforward.
No, absolutely.
Not at all.
But it's like you say, it's like the awareness, the understanding of what you're up against with the new information. Huge. And actually, you know, putting things into practice in a different way.
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
Definitely. Obviously, you said the mindfulness really helps you to not look back. But if we were going to look back,
it's okay.
What
just for a moment.
What do you feel that undiagnosed ADHD cost you?
I think I really struggled with friendships. Now, I'm really lucky because I have such a good friendship group right now. But when my mum has listened, my mum, by the way, is like my number one fan, bless her little heart. Aww. So she listens to a lot of my things. But it was hard for her in a way to understand, because she sort of said, well, you've always been okay. And I said, yeah, I have, mum, externally, but you don't understand what it took internally for me to achieve what I've achieved. Just because I've achieved it doesn't mean it was easy. So we've had to have a bit of a learning journey together. And she listens to a lot of my stuff. So if I've been on a podcast, she'll probably listen to this one.
Hi,
Mom.
She'll love that. So she'll listen, and she listened to one that I did. And I was talking about school, and I was talking about the fact that I felt like I didn't really fit in. I felt like I didn't have friendships that were deep connections or deep friendships. I felt like I really struggled. And afterwards, she said to me, oh, I didn't know that. What are you talking about? And I said, but mum, my time was spent, if I really think about my secondary school years, really until I started drinking and going out, my time was spent with you and dad and my brother. We spent our time together. And she went, yeah, because we're a close family, right?
Yeah.
And so I explained this to her. She had that realization and she went, oh yeah, no. And we had a conversation about it. So I think that one of the big things was my friendships. And the other thing was that I feel like I wish I knew how I studied and stuff like that. So to beat myself up for not studying or producing things in the same way as other people. But I smashed my exams, like I did. but I never studied. I don't remember ever studying. I remember like reading things the night before and then being annoyed with myself that I was doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're beating yourself up whilst you're doing it, but then you go and smash it and you're like, all right then. But if I'd known all of that, I might have just been kinder to myself. And I think the relationship
100%.
with yourself is the most important one. And sometimes we can be really mean to ourselves. So I think they're the two biggest things: is friendships and feeling like I never fit in, and the relationship I had with myself and not being very kind to myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally relate to that. So what do you feel has changed for you since diagnosis?
Self-acceptance, huge. I absolutely feel like a much better friend to myself, and I don't care how wanky that sounds. I genuinely feel that. I think that in conversations with other people, I feel more confident to advocate for myself. But if you don't have that knowledge, how the hell are you going to do that? So now I feel really comfortable to say, especially in like professional setting, what the hell does that mean? But when I'm doing work and people, talk about presentations or PowerPoints or whatever, if relevant, sure, but if not, that's not my style. Why do we have to make people look at a PowerPoint? Why are we making people make a PowerPoint? This is just a small example, but so I'm confident to say that's not how I do things. I don't think that is necessarily how people will learn the best. Blah, 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 blah. So I think that's a big one, like being friends with yourself, advocating for yourself. Knowledge is power. And I think the other thing is as well, being able to communicate to others, again, what you need, but also knowing when you need to stop communicating. That's a big one for me. Trying to talk when I'm emotional, you might as well just not, there's just no point. So just leave it. And then maybe a day, maybe 2 days or whatever, we can come back and I can explain what happened in a situation, what triggered me, how it made me feel. There's no way I can do that in the moment. The emotional dysregulation for me is one of the hardest parts of my ADHD, and the RSD. And I think that's one of the biggest things of me learning how I best communicate, how I best manage my emotions and my feelings. So it sounds quite selfish, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that it is about you and understanding yourself. So yeah. And also now I just feel like now I understand why I've sacked off my 19-year accountancy career and done something else.
That's brilliant. Do you know, it's funny because when you were saying then about, advocating for yourself, what would work for you, even if it's not the norm, I was just thinking, because we're doing a live podcasting event. Yeah. And we went to one. We've never done a live podcast before. We did the tour, obviously, but we went to one and it was kind of set up like somebody's living room, as they often are. You're sitting down, you're talking. And when we did the tour, we were stood up and walking around, and I go into the crowd and I talk to people. And we just said, actually, that's what we're going to do. We don't care if that's how you normally record a live podcast. That isn't going to work for us, because we could just as easily zone out, more likely to forget what we're talking about. I'm not going to get the dopamine or the engagement from getting in amongst people and stuff like that. So
so we basically just told them exactly what we wanted. And we're like, we can't have the sofa set up because we're not going to feel comfortable. It's not going to work for us. It's going to be difficult to sit still.
Brilliant. So brilliant. And if you were doing something before having this knowledge about yourselves and learning how you best operate and how to get the best out of yourselves, you wouldn't be able to say that to someone, would you? So this is why obviously I'm such an advocate for people making sure that they do go and get the help that they need and diagnosis and stuff, or self-diagnosis. But more power to you. Good for you.
It's so important to have that self-understanding, isn't it?
Yeah.
How can anyone else understand you or what you're going through or what you're dealing with or how you feel about things if you don't know that yourself?
Yeah,
Amen.
absolutely.
Yeah. So
go on. No, I don't even know where we're up to with who's asked what, to be honest with you. We had a system last season, now we don't have one.
We're just kind of winging it now.
I like it. I love it. It's great.
So I guess if you could implement change to the diagnostic process, what would it be? So your process seems like, you said you had a good GP and you got quite a lot of help and support along with that. But obviously that's not the same for everyone.
No. And I guess if you ask this question to other people, they're going to have probably different, or I hate to say better answers, but depending on their experience. But I think sharing from my experience, the biggest thing was that I do think GPs just need, and I know they have so much pressure on them. This is not a dig at GPs, by the way, but I think it's just that understanding of when you're going to go, especially for those of us that are late diagnosed, when you're going into that conversation, it's actually quite scary. And you question yourself. Like I question myself. I'm questioning me. I've got ADHD. You're questioning yourself. So all you need is, and it's not that hard, is that little bit of understanding and a little bit of a kind hand to help you through the process. My GP did that. And when I talk to friends who have been through the process and haven't got it, like a friend of mine who has literally been told to go away, basically. No, you haven't. That's not what you know. How is that helpful? And even if that's not what it is, she still needs to have a conversation because she doesn't feel okay, So I just think that little bit of kindness from the professionals that are in that realm of doing it, and the same as those who are either, helping you through the diagnosis when you do get to that point. I just think that a little bit of kindness goes a long way. This is a really difficult, daunting journey to go on, learning all of this about yourself, and then you go into diagnosis where you are being questioned about your whole life, and that can be really scary. So I just think a little bit of kindness goes a long way, and ultimately the wait lists we now know are like years long. People are traveling to go and get diagnosis, so we know that certain organizations aren't doing a good job because they are not going through the criteria correctly. So I don't have the answers, but ultimately I just think a little bit of kindness goes a long way.
Absolutely.
And to have support in the process is huge. And that doesn't have to be from a professional doctor, even the receptionists who are there. Just a little bit of kindness for me goes a long way.
Absolutely. I think, we talked about this a lot on the road, is that whole, isn't it like a neurodivergent child on average hears 20,000 more negative things than a neurotypical. And so then, if we've got low self-worth, right, that's what that can do, is dent your self-worth. And you've spent your lifetime thinking you're just inept, and you find out that it might be something, but you're going to have to fight and you're going to have to advocate for yourself whilst the imposter syndrome is creeping in, to a person who on average only has 1 hour of training, which is based on outdated and biased, God, I can't even think of the word, tests, research, that's the word I was looking for. And then on top of it, you've got the mainstream media who are going to fuel this idea that it's just a trend, that it, just put down your phone, all of that bullshit. It's really, really hard because you've got, you're going to have to, in a situation where you should have your hand held, you're actually having to fight against stereotypes, a lack of training, and just ableism in a nutshell.
And it's like you're saying, just a little bit of kindness. Even if you walk into that GP surgery and the doctor thinks they don't have ADHD, you're still dealing with a person that thinks they do, and is deaf and has obviously got problems going on. So you need to treat them with kindness and compassion so that they can figure out what is going on. Whether all
GPs can go on a mindfulness course with me, and I'll help them with their compassion.
I mean, and better still, why would a gatekeeper to diagnosis not be fully trained? So then that doesn't make sense, because we are literally having to convince someone who for the most part might not know what they're talking about to give us access to somebody that does. Make it make sense. Does it?
Exactly.
Got a lot of feelings.
That's why we're here though, right? Because these conversations are so important, and we want people to feel confident to go do those things. And I've spoken to so many people. It's really bloody hard sometimes. Like, why should you have to sit there and fight? Unfortunately you do, but it's like a lot of things with unfortunately our medical system and stuff, and especially our mental health care system. You do have to fight for things, and that is the sad truth. So we need it to change because we need more money and we need to have more kindness, but sometimes you do have to have a little bit of fight. So make sure you've got people around you that are going to hold your hand whilst you fight.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. So you've already said your greatest ADHD struggles are emotional dysregulation and RSD, much like mine. Are there any more that are like really stick out, or is there anything that you could share with me about how to deal with that nonsense?
I would like to share actually, because I think that I'm learning to deal with it better. Like I said, with my relationships with my boyfriend, but also with my parents as well. Really funny story, by the way. When I was on BBC News sharing about my late diagnosis in motherhood, because obviously I'm an advocate for sharing that story for people to understand the links between hormonal changes and motherhood as a neurodivergent. Because I think there's a lot more conversations about being a parent with children who are neurodivergent, but not the other way around. So anyway, my dad, right, he's an absolute heart of gold. There is no getting away from that. But he's such a grumpy old man, like different generation and everything else. And so I haven't really talked to him about it. I'm very close to my mum in that way. She knows everything. I tell her about everything. I haven't really talked to my dad about it, but he's there. He's privy to conversations, because obviously when I'm at their house, I'm talking about the work that I'm doing or the talk that I've been doing or whatever. So he's a bit deaf as well, so he's probably not heard it. But anyway, when that came out on BBC News, he sat there and he watched it with my mum. And so I'm texting my mum going, "Is Dad watching it? What's he saying?" At the end, I'm like, "Is it?" And he was just said, "That's really good. I'm proud of it. Like that is it." But it's even in conversations with the closest people in your life, and not hiding yourself away from having those conversations so that they understand. And so I think that's been a big learning point for me, is even those like my dad who don't get it, don't understand it, will probably question it, which can be really hurtful, because then you get the RSD kicking in, is to keep having those conversations. And from talking from experience, your confidence will grow with it. And so I think that's the main thing. Start with, if you think about your circles, your inner circle, and going outwards, that's where I started. I had to start with those closest to me. And then I've gradually obviously started to have these conversations with people that aren't close to me, and that confidence grows. And I think, like we talked about, that understanding of ourselves, but the emotional dysregulation, I think there just has to be a huge piece of compassion for yourself and self-acceptance that, okay, my brain works like this, so how am I going to manage it? And that's, I guess, how I teach in mindfulness. And so, I say to my partner, or my mum, when she triggers me or whatever, I need a moment, like I need some time, and to just have that communication and to be able to understand that my initial reaction, I know, isn't always the right. I own my shit. And I think that that's a really big part of it. Like, I can apologize, I can own my shit, I can say when it's my part in it. I can't do that when it's happening, but I can do that afterwards. And so it's like I say, I know I'm repeating myself, but I think it's really important. It's a huge learning curve, that self-understanding, that compassion and that communication, because then it helps you to set boundaries and expectations in your relationships and in your life. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. It totally does. Yeah. If you're finding this podcast helpful and you're in a position to do so, please join our Patreon peer support community via the link in the blurb of this episode. For unheard bonus and full interview video content and behind the scenes exclusives, including a next guest spoiler and first dibs and discounts on our handmade and ethically created merchandise and apparel, and live events tickets. Also blogs, vlogs, live community Zoom blethers, monthly advice from an ADHD coach, body doubling, and access to our Discord, filled with literally like-minded legends from all around the globe, including ourselves, who totally get it, who you can lean on, learn from, and blether with any time. Because the only people who know what it's like aboard the late ADHD diagnosis roller coaster are the other passengers.
We've created this platform in order to support ourselves financially, to be able to continue creating ADHD AF, and for our podcast to remain ad-free. If you don't have the funds, there are other peer support platforms available. Check out the resources page on ADHDasfemales.com. If you can support us, in turn, you will receive the support of our community, a full circle of support for the leopard print army. We spent our entire lives feeling like aliens, only to discover there's a whole planet of us. So hop aboard the spaceship and join us at patreon.com/ADHDasfemales.
If you would like to support us without joining the community, you can make a donation via our Buy Me a Coffee page, buymeacoffee.com/ADHDasfemales.
Both of us and the entire ADHD AF community really, really appreciate your support.
We really do.
What ADHD cocktail are you? And so what we mean by that,
get your comorbidities out.
Get your comorbidities out. Do you have any that you recognise as a comorbidity?
You'd like to share?
I don't know. What are yours? That's a bit of a different question.
So my comorbidities are, they're fun.
What's your cocktail? Do you have to have a name for it though?
No, well, oh God, we could make names. Yeah. So mine would be like miserable bastard. No, it's Depression, anxiety. I've had a lifetime of eating disorder struggles. I've got auditory processing disorder, and I think I've got dyscalculia, and I think I'm dyspraxic. So that's all fun.
God.
I've never actually thought about all mine in really, but there's binge eating disorder for sure. I've definitely had low level anxiety and low level depression my whole life, but not really recognised it as that. What else? Endometriosis. People say that can be linked to ADHD. Yeah. What else is going on? Who knows? Lots of things.
Yeah.
What's the other thing I've got with the bendy? I'm bendy.
Hyperflexibility.
That one.
Oh yeah.
I got them all.
You know what? It's funny, isn't it? Because obviously as well, not knowing these things until you're 37, and then you start to obviously like learn and read up about it, and you're going, oh yeah. So hypersensitivity for me, hugely. So especially when it comes to like sounds, I absolutely get overstimulated by stuff like that. But hypersensitivity and smells as well. And I think I've also read, because again, it comes back to that. Isn't it to do with our like nervous system or something linked to how our brain works? That so I always struggled with IBS as well. Which I don't even know if that's a thing, but I think there's something.
No, it is. It's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
IBS.
IBS is. Yeah, that's another one that I've got to my list.
And it's really funny, isn't it, when you start to and you just think, oh, so maybe that's to do with that, and you start to give yourself a little bit of leeway. That do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't think I've really thought about it because. I don't know. I don't know. But can I be a pina colada, please?
Yes, you're in the sunshine. You absolutely
can. We're totally going to have to come out.
We're going to have to make up names for cocktails. Yeah, I'm feeling it.
Another one that we heard recently in another conversation was alexithymia.
What's that?
And I definitely relate to that one, which is characterised by difficulty identifying emotions.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I have read about that. And there was something else, but I guess
there's a migraine-y one as well.
Oh, and migraines, yeah, that's another one.
Yeah. There was something. You know what? I'm gonna have to go and look at this because this is what my brain did. I would have read about this for 8, and then now I've just forgotten it.
Yeah. Oh, we know that one.
Yeah, I had to go into my notes and find it because I was like, what was that other one called?
Do you do that in your phone as well, where you go and you've researched everything and then like, oh right, yes, I'm going to remember that, and now it's about 500 down in your notes.
Oh
so
yeah,
I'm never going to look at it again.
Oh yeah.
My notes are full of things to look back at, which I've never looked back at.
And open tabs in your browser.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. I got a new phone the other day, and it's just really funny because I look at it and I'm like, I've only got like 20 open tabs. I'm like, oh yeah, because that's a new phone. It's normally 500, and I'm trying to like keep on top of it and close them, but it won't last. I
can't imagine that.
So tell us, how do you get your dopamine?
I used to get it in very questionable ways. I just like to, maybe we won't go into that for family listening, but now it's more things like time with my friends and going and doing things like paddleboarding and roller skating and those activities that are sort of active and give me that bit of a rush. That's huge for me, learning about that sort of stuff, and I honestly can say that it has definitely helped me to make better decisions, because I feel like we have to go and get it, don't we? So I'm choosing where to go and get it instead of just letting myself run away with myself and going and get it wherever the wind sort of takes me. So I think it's more like that, more active things, and going out and doing some exciting things that are also can be quite relaxing because they're quite mindful things as well. Roller skating, paddleboarding, when you're climbing across ropes and in the tops of trees and things like that. So
when I do that, I'm the clumsiest person ever. I can barely walk.
And then I was just going to share one more thing. I think that one of my other big dopamine hits I get is from my public speaking, and I'm sure you guys feel this as well. Is it's weird, isn't it? You should be so nervous, but the excitement overtakes it. And then when you've achieved it and when you've been out there and you've been talking, it's like a feeling like no other. And it's so different to me sitting at a desk at a fucking spreadsheet for however many years. Now I get to do this thing that actually gives me all the adrenaline and all the excitement. And I love doing the work that I do now. And I think that's one of the big things for me, is that happens quite often now, thankfully. So,
that's fantastic. I feel like the public speaking, I don't get nervous, like I'm already excited about it. I only got nervous once on tour for sort of different reasons, but generally being kind of nervous or in a heightened state, it makes me able to concentrate.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's what makes me present. So like when I was because I used to teach scuba diving, and when I was doing that, I used to joke, because I didn't know then, I used to joke, oh, it's only the impending fear of a load of people drowning on my watch that can keep me in the present moment.
It's so interesting, isn't it, when you start to understand those things? And it's the same for me. I spoke at a big event last week, and it's so important, and I wanted to do such a good job, but I did not feel nervous. Like when I used to have to present to loads of middle managers about finance documents, which I knew, but I used to feel so nervous. And when I was going to do this talk to way more people, I didn't feel nervous. I felt excited, and I couldn't wait to do it, and I enjoyed it.
And I think that's the difference as well. It's what you're talking about and what you're doing. Like when we started doing it, I was shitting my pants. I'm not going to lie. Like I was so scared when we did our first live show, because I'd really bad stage fright. Like I've always I've sang in bands for years, but it's always existed. And that fear before I go out there. And that's how my RSD plays up, is in front of people. It's just that fear of that instant rejection, because I hate confrontation. I hate conflict.
Same.
And that's why I get a fear of being in front of people in case I get that. I think the bigger picture was that the fear came from the fact of being found out to be a fraud, because I'd spent my whole entire life people pleasing and trying to be the person I thought people wanted me to be. So it wasn't really until we did the first show that I kind of had that epiphany afterwards, being like, oh, I can be myself and be accepted. And that was huge. That was massive. And
that makes me emotional. It's so true. And when you have that feeling, and it just makes me sad that some people won't get that. I hope this encourages people to do that, because being you is amazing, and you are amazing. And I think we need to be given that space to be ourselves. And it's emotional.
There is still nerves there, and there is still fear, but that's changed. I can't even say that word, drastically. It's changed drastically.
Say purple burglar alarm again.
Purple burglar alarm. But it's been a huge change for me, just being able to speak in front of people and be myself. And that's massive. So I'm now excited about when we do live events.
Live events. We need to do live events together. Let's do live events.
More collaborations.
Love it.
So what do you want the world to know about ADHD? Not just ADHD people, but
the world.
Everybody out there.
Bust a misconception, whatever you want.
I think the biggest thing is this, is that we're not all the same. Even just in this conversation with three of us, you can see how different our symptoms present, the traits that we have, how our environment, our family, our schooling, the events that have happened to us in life can impact on us in different ways. And so I think that's the biggest thing, that when I've said to people about the ADHD, I've had comments before like, oh, you don't eat like someone with ADHD. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That doesn't I know. So for me, it's that once you've met one person with ADHD, you've met one person with ADHD. Like, we're not all the same. And that's the thing I think that I want the world to understand. And I want everybody to just be a little bit more open-minded about what it actually means and what that means for a person, not just in general, but for the person who's sitting in front of you and wants to maybe talk to you about it or share their experience, or, you know what I mean? Be more accepting of it. And the fact that, on paper, I was someone that had this amazing career and a house and blah, 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 all this BS tick boxing, but does that mean that I haven't got ADHD? Well, no. And so I think that's the thing for the world, is that, it could be a disability or a superpower. For me, I think it's both. And I just wish that there was a bit more acceptance in the world of having this conversation and knowing that it's not just like one size fits all. Like we're all different. Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. So what would you like our listeners to know? So speaking more specifically to, well, I mean, let's be honest, it's going to be predominantly late diagnosed or self-diagnosed exploring ADHDers. What would you like to say to them?
I think that, and it's funny because this is a little tagline, I guess, that I've started to come up with, because I find it hard sometimes to summarize my work because it spans a few things. But this is what I've been saying a lot lately, and I think that it relates to this. So what I've been saying is this: be curious, be playful, and be you. And I think that's a nice way to summarize the work that I do, the journey that I've been on, and what I would want others to experience, feel, be, and do. And that is to be curious about yourself and the world, is to be playful. So stop taking things so seriously. You know, we're all going the same way and we ain't going to be here long, so we might as well have a bit more fun with it. And then the last bit is be you. I think that like there is no other you. And so often, especially those of us with diagnosed ADHD, like we've just said, can feel like we don't fit in and we've pretended to be someone else for such a long time. Fuck that shit. Like, you own you, be you. You're amazing and the world needs more of you. One of the biggest things that ever happened to me was one of my bestest friends, when I first met her, which was only a few years ago, but she's now one of my bestest friends, said to me, the world needs more Amy fucking Polly. And that has stayed with me and stayed with me and stayed with me. Yeah.
And Amy fucking Polly's just got me in tears.
So yeah, I think that's it. And sorry, just a little side note to what I just said. They're not just words. So be curious. Curiosity is an active thing. Be playful is an active thing. Playfulness, they're not just words, they're things that we can do. And so that's why I think that to me, it feels really empowering. And be you, again, that's active. Like, find out who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what lights you up, what puts a fire up your ass, like all of that. I think these are active things. It's not just a nice to say, like these are things we can actually do. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
And continue to learn and not just be like, right, well, what do I like? And write it all down in a list and think that you're done. It's like, yeah, it's a continual thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Can I just also ask, like you've said a lot about, well, you've said a lot, your career, like you talk about mindfulness, right? And I think I've kind of got two questions at once. So one is, I saw the other day you'd posted something about how you were a bit fed up of the idea of mindfulness being like this kind of wishy-washy woo-woo thing. And actually, you know, it's science, right? Like, would you like to tell us a little bit more about that? And with a bit of luck, I might remember the second thing. Let's see.
So what bothers me, and the reason I call myself the mindfulness rebel, is because mindfulness has been peddled the same way for a long time. And it's all about calmness and emptying your mind, which is bullshit. By the way, I really hope I can swear on this podcast because I've done it a few times.
Absolutely.
And for me, especially as I started working more with children and people who are neurodivergent, that is not accessible. That is not inclusive. And also, it's just not true. The aim of mindfulness is not to empty your mind. And so what I want people to know is that this whole thing of like, when you're present, there are no problems, only peace. No, sometimes you're present and there is a problem, and things aren't always rainbows and unicorns. So, and it also in workplace wellbeing, like working with organizations and seeing other people talk about mindfulness as though it's like, oh, have this fruit bowl and do a little bit of mindfulness, as if it's just a quick tick box. It's not. Mindfulness is a practice that anybody can do, but you have to have some guidance and hand holding, otherwise I wouldn't have a job. And also you have to find what works for you. So mindfulness isn't just meditation. It's about how we are present in our everyday. And those of us with ADHD can struggle with that, because we have a really busy mind and we struggle to be present. So mindfulness is a practice and anybody can do it, but you have to start small and you have to find what works for you. So I'm not here for all this like calm. I mean, I do like a white flowing dress, but you know what I'm trying to say.
That's where it ends. That's the only calm thing.
The whole thing that's peddled on social media and in the media about mindfulness equals calm. It doesn't. Mindfulness equals awareness. And that, for me, is the key to everything that we have talked about. That is where it starts.
So your tip would be for somebody with a busy brain who thinks like, well, this mindfulness business ain't for me. Like, what would be like a key thing that perhaps somebody could try? Because, sorry, go on.
That's really important. That is the most important bit, is where to start. So if you think about it like this, right? We've got a busy mind. We are really distracted as modern human beings. But you can just start with something that is an everyday thing. And this is where I always start with children, with anybody, is that you do so many things on autopilot every day. So just choose one thing to try to be present with. So it might be just having a drink, might be having a cup of coffee or whatever it is, or brushing your teeth, having a shower, going out for a walk, whatever it is. Start to label what you can smell, taste, hear, see. That is how you start to become more present, using your senses. And it'll be different for everybody. And for a start, you'll be like, I can't even focus on this cup of tea. But what you will do is you'll try to do it, your mind will wander, and you'll come back again. Well done. Just exercise that muscle. That's like saying, I can't lift this weight. Well, you don't start with like the 100-ton weight, do you? You start with the little one, and you just do a little bit. And that's where you start. And if you can just take a few moments each day to just stop and breathe, again, just focusing on your breathing, mind chatters. You go, oh, my mind was going somewhere. Let me come back to just breathing or counting my breathing. And then it goes off, and then you come back. But you're exercising the muscle. That's where it starts. That's all you need to do to start. Then it can get deeper.
That's fantastic. Can I be really annoying and ask one more question, and then you ask the rest? Okay. So, so obviously you were talking earlier about how a lot of the focus for parents is on parents that have children with ADHD. And I wondered if there was anything that you would like to share about being a parent with ADHD. Like if you're speaking to our listeners that are parents themselves that either have or suspect they have ADHD or are struggling, do you have any words of wisdom or anything that you'd like to share about that?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing, I'm really sorry to keep repeating myself, but they are really important points, is that compassion for yourself. Because what can happen is, especially as a parent, especially if you want to be a good parent, like you're going to be beating yourself up, oh my goodness, is what I'm doing affecting my child? Am I doing things right? Blah, blah, blah. Look, they only need basics, okay? So be a bit kinder to yourself. And the other thing is, find what works for you. So really huge thing for me was this, especially when I was really struggling with that postnatal anxiety, then being diagnosed with ADHD, and then realizing, the reason I don't like playing with Thomas the freaking Tank Engine again and again, and imaginative play, is because that don't work for me. So his dad can do that sort of stuff with him. I do numbers, letters. I write out sums for him, and we do stuff like that. And Lego has been like a savior in our bonding experience, which sounds like such a small thing, but for me, that's been huge, to find what works for us. Again, don't compare yourself to others. Find what works for you. If something is that uncomfortable, I mean, you two will understand, when something's uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable. It's like pain. It's like painful.
Yeah.
And so when it's with your child, you start to beat yourself up, because you want to be present with your kid and you want to do the things they want to do, but you have to find what works for you. And then the last thing is this: ask for bloody help. Like, don't think you have to do everything on your own. So now when I'm out with my partner, he knows when I'm being overstimulated, triggered, not dealing with a situation very well. And we try to be a team. And even if you haven't got someone, even when I'm on my own with my little boy, when I get home, I'll almost have like a little bit of an offload, maybe with my mum or something, to try to explain what's happened and say, I'm feeling like my shoulders have been up high and I'm feeling a bit tight chested because X, Y, and Z. Like, we have to be able to ask for help, communicate what's going on within us, and then be able to ask for help. Like, there's lots of people out there that want to support and help you. And I think this is why there needs to be more communities that are parents with ADHD rather than communities for parents of children with ADHD.
Yeah. It's funny because I was actually just about to say community, like, if anybody is listening and they feel like they don't have anybody that they could ask for help from, like, you can. I mean, obviously we have a community, but that's to keep our podcast going and stuff like that. And we're not experts anyway, but there are so many different online forums. You've got things on Reddit, you've got Facebook. There are lots of free places where people who could be going through very similar things to you, and you can just connect on that level. So even if you don't feel like you physically have somebody around you, there are so many ways that you can connect with people online. Yeah.
Amazing advice.
Right, I will shut up. Ask the actual question, sorry.
So what is your win of the week?
Oh, my win of the week. Do you know what it is? It's work related because work is my second biggest love after my baby. I had a quote accepted this week for a job that I really wanted to do, so I'm really happy.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's
wicked.
wicked.
And also, I'm in the sunshine, so I'm so grateful to be on
You are
holiday.
absolutely winning.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How long are you away for? How long you got left?
Just till Friday, so a couple more full days. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, enjoy the sunshine.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And our big question, what is the most ADHD thing you've done this week?
Or ever. Up to you.
Do you know what? There's so many things, and I was going to say this week, but I feel like actually having been here and chilling out, I have much responsibility. So you can F things up, and it doesn't really matter. Although my mum says to me a lot, she's like, "Oh, you're nuts," like she's saying that with love, but there's so many things that you come out with. But the other week I was thinking about, I often feel like, okay, I'm managing things well, but I've been meaning to give a present to a friend who I saw last week. It's literally been sat in my kitchen for months, and I said I'm going to post it, didn't post it, and then I was going to an event where she was going to be at, and I was like, right, I'm going to bring it with me, and I didn't take it with me, and I'm so mad with myself, and I'm like, this is debilitating. This is a disability. Like I have, and the amount of things that I've got in my home that should not be there is just, it's so annoying.
Yeah. I tell you what, posting things is like the worst.
So tough.
How much money have you wasted on not sending things back as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a thing on my table where I'm like, right, I need to do that, and it's like every day I look at it, and then it's just blended into the background.
Up on my whiteboard, I wrote today, returns, underline. Along
with put check in bank and use Christmas vouchers.
Yeah.
Right, there's so many things. Invisalign, right? I had an Invisalign, bless my ex.
Are they good? I want mum.
Oh, well, hey, who knows? Who's going to wear it? I've started wearing them. Then COVID sort of happened. Then I got most ADHD thing that's cost me a lot of money is paying for Invisalign and not wearing them. And this is the thing, right, that people don't understand, because people will just say, well, just start wearing it.
Just do it.
Like my bills. So I've got myself into trouble with bills before, and I'm an ex-accountant, and people are like, well, why don't you just pay them? Well, if I could do that, then I would have done it.
It's the worst thing that anyone can say to an ADHDer is, why don't you just try? Yeah. Why don't you just do it?
Just do it. Just do the thing. Oh my God, you've just given me a brilliant idea for a t-shirt. It's like the Nike, just do it. And underneath, if only it were that fucking simple.
I love that. Oh, brilliant. But yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Or is there anything we haven't covered or anything you want to say?
I don't think so. I think that, if I'm thinking about the work that I do around neurodiversity, I really want there to be more research into the link between hormonal changes and ADHD, because I don't think there's enough research. I don't think there's enough people talking about it. There are a few, I've seen more recently, but like you say, we're talking about monthly hormonal changes, so it's not just the big ones. It's monthly, it's ongoing. Childbirth, miscarriage, menopause, premenopause, surgical menopause, so many things that I think are just completely under researched, because we've been so underdiagnosed and misrepresented in regards to ADHD that there now needs to be more investment in that, because it's huge, and I really think we could be helped. I actually, like we've said, knowledge is power. And if we knew what impact this could have, if I knew that before I had my baby, would I have been able to manage better? Pretty sure I would have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Each month, it's like, period's coming. That's why the meds aren't working so well. I can be a little bit kinder to myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Although I've been effing and jeffing all day because I'm basically useless.
And as well for the people around you, right? To know that, again, so you can have this conversation afterwards, like, I apologise because this is what happened, but it's not quite 100% my fault, but I appreciate that that's not your problem, if you like. It's that, again, that understanding, that communication. That's what I hope.
Oh, Amy, it's been so lovely speaking to you. So many pearls. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Thanks for having me on. I love you too.
Oh, we love you.
Thank you.
And your mum.
What's your mum's name?
Lillian.
Hello, Lillian.
Hi.
I'm so excited.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today.
Yeah, super grateful.
Enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Thank you. You take care.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
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 Well, isn't Amy Polly something else?
Yeah, she absolutely is something else. I just love that episode so much. So much. Be curious, be playful, be
you.
Be you.
Be you, yeah.
It's
really
wonderful.
Love that.
She is an absolute inspiration. She truly is. I like the idea of the mindfulness on the move. The point being that we're not necessarily ever going to be Zen. That doesn't mean we can't be mindful.
Yeah, and it's kind of getting rid of those misconceptions that people have around mindfulness as well.
100%.
And this is what I wrote down is people think it's airy-fairy, wishy-washy, woo-woo.
I love that. I do know I love a bit of woo-woo though, but but mindfulness isn't. It's literally science. It's like brain science.
But there's so many people that's mindfulness, I'm not going to do that because it's just this spiritually stuff. And it's not really. It's just about
coming into the present moment. Yeah.
And trying to be aware of your thoughts, be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, exactly that. No, she's absolutely amazing. I was cringing through that because when I say Amy fucking Polly made me cry, can we just take a minute? I have never met or spoken to this woman, so why I'm talking in that tone is just beyond me. But I'll tell you why. It's because she's just a joy, and it was just we felt like we'd known her forever as soon as we started talking.
It's that familiar. I can't even say that word. Familiarity.
Familiarity?
Yes, that one. Sometimes words are hard. Yes, familiarity.
That's the one. That'll do.
But it is. You just felt at ease with her instantly, and it's just like you'd been speaking and been friends for years.
And once again, serendipity has dealt us a hand because we genuinely did not plan this. Now, as I said, never met her before, never spoken to her before, and my impulsivity leads me to blurt out, "We should do live events together." And guess
what?
That is one of the big announcements of this episode is that Amy fucking Polly, oh God, kill me, is joining me. I always want to say us, joining me for the live shows in December in London, Leeds and Glasgow. She would love to do them all, but Amazing. She can only do those 3. And with her busy schedule, we are so lucky to have her and so excited that she could squeeze us in because what we've come up with is the funniest, most ridiculous thing ever that Amy is doing, and I'm so excited about it. So if you want to come and see Amy as part of the ADHDF Christmas Live events, be sure to get in there and get your tickets quickly because London has already sold 50% of the tickets.
Amazing.
And that's without even a single Christmas graphic on the grid. And Glasgow is 25% sold as well. So these tickets are selling. So get on board with that, and thank you to Amy, and I can't wait to see her in real life.
I know, I'm so FOMOing so hard now.
I'm so sorry. So alongside the mindfulness, Amy talked a lot about motherhood, like many of our guests have, and we really do hope that the mothers amongst our community got what they wanted from that. There are also quite a lot of other podcasts in which motherhood is a topic that's an ongoing topic that unfortunately we just can't comment on. Such as Women's Wellbeing Podcast. The wonderful Kate Moore Youssef is a mother of 4. Right? There are lots and lots of podcasts where the hosts are mothers, and sadly that is not us. So we hope that you can find your place because it just isn't our niche. So we can't give that to you. But we're glad that we could raise some awareness about the fact that many of us suffer that as an ADHD tax in ADHD Awareness Month.
Absolutely.
So
the next announcement is what we're doing for ADHD Awareness Month.
Yes. So you may have seen on Sunday, the 1st of October, we put out a graphic about making it count. So we're done rightly and very much supported in doing so, focusing more on university. I realised that for me, I knew that I needed to do something for ADHD Awareness Month. I was at that protest trying to fight for our rights to protest and it didn't go through, and now we can't protest. So having put this out, and I'm sure last year's episode is going to be listened to this month because it says ADHD Awareness Month, right? So I was like, right, I need to do something. So I pulled in my 2 other best girls, Kat Owens and Ali McDonald.
Both absolute belters, total legends.
Yes. So we had some different conversations going on between us backwards and forwards over the last few weeks. And then what happens is that Kat is very logical and me and Ali go round and round in circles. But what about this? But what about that? But what about this? And we just did that for weeks. But then on a full moon, a coven of 3 came together and made magic. And it just happened.
I love it.
And I'm really excited about this campaign and I believe in it because Kat tells me it's a good idea and that always is exactly what I need to hear. But basically it is called ADHDF Make It Count because we are determined to make this ADHD Awareness Month count. So it's all about numbers and that is because Westminster promised a data dashboard with important numbers such as how many are on the waiting list and for how long, but to no avail. At the same time, Holyrood has promised an ADHD bill, which obviously we need to make count as well. But on top of that, there is no end in sight. So we don't know the date of this release. We do not know how much longer we have to wait. So obviously Holyrood is the Scottish Parliament and Westminster is the English Parliament. So what we need to know is how long we have to wait for the neurodiversity bill from Scotland, and we need to know these numbers from Westminster. And the reason why these numbers are so important is that with no laws around monitoring waiting times and ADHD diagnosis rates, there can be no chance of proper funding or services. So I'm not a numbers girl. Right? I've got dyscalculia, but we need these numbers because that is where we start from. That is what we need to actually move forward and to get proper systems in place. So, what about Northern Ireland and Wales, I hear you cry?
Yes, Laura, what about Northern Ireland and Wales?
Well, I do not know what is going on in Northern Ireland, and I do not know what's going on in Wales. And I'll be honest with you, when we made this plan, which is to go to both Holyrood and Westminster on the same day, I actually wanted to stop at all cities along the way and do a magical mystery tour because of course I did, because I didn't learn my lesson from the Too Much tour and I've been reined in. So having done that, I'm reining myself in. And what I want to say is that if you are a person in Northern Ireland or Wales and you do know what's going on and you would like to get on board with our Make It Count campaign, then we would love to hear from you. I do not have the capability to do any more than I'm doing, but we do have this platform and we do have a plan. So if you have the time and the knowledge, then please come forward because we would love to extend this. And if I'm honest, we'd love to extend this all over the UK. Yeah. So if you're in any city in the UK and you want to get on board and do something on the same day, then we can do that. However,
this is where it gets interesting.
As I mentioned, protesting is now illegal in England. It isn't in Scotland, but my fear is that with starting the day in Scotland, if we were to protest there, then it looks like we're coming down to England to do the same. So It's important that it's uniform because we don't want to get stopped before we even get to Westminster.
Yeah.
So we have a message to deliver, and all we're going to do is hold up a sign and have a photograph taken.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in leopard print.
Obviously.
And that is not illegal.
No.
So I can't rally the troops and ask you to be at Holyrood on the 23rd of October.
You wouldn't dare.
I couldn't ask you to come there. I also couldn't rally the troops and say, come to Westminster in the afternoon at around 3-4ish, because again, that would potentially be illegal. But you know, if you happen to be passing either of those places and you wanted to take a photograph of us just standing outside a building taking a photograph, and you also happen to be in leopard print, well, that wouldn't be illegal, would it?
I'm pretty sure that would be absolutely fine.
And I mean, if we had absolutely no, what are they called? Picket signs, whatever, and we had no megaphones and there was no chanting and there was no marching and it was just a couple of people taking a photograph and however many other people looking at them taking a photograph and possibly taking their own photograph, then that absolutely would not be a protest and it would not be illegal.
It's not a protest.
No, it is not a protest. So, yeah, if you were thinking about doing something similar, which I absolutely couldn't encourage or condone to be seen as rallying, then that would be wonderful. A united front of the leopard print army. And there will be more details to follow. But in any case, a lot of people have asked us, why are you not focusing on medication? We touched on this earlier. Why are you focusing on this one thing? The truth is, I am but one person.
Yeah.
And I have two amazing people who also have a lot on their plate that are helping me. And so you just have to pick a lane. This problem is so big. There are so many levels. There's education, there's medication. We've just picked this one because to our minds, and to Kat's in particular, who really does know her shit, this is the bottom level.
Yeah.
This is where we start in terms of getting rid of this backlog and getting people seen in an orderly fashion.
Yeah.
And that is what this podcast has been about from day dot.
Yep.
So that is why we have picked this lane. But anybody who is doing anything for ADHD Awareness Month, please send it to us, tag it to us. I will share it on the story. We are one community all together and we can all do whatever we can do. And this is what I can do. And I'm absolutely not asking you to come to a protest. Okay? And then if you are not in the UK but you would like to get on board, much like last year, it's ADHD AF Day. We've moved the date slightly for logistics. It's the 23rd of October, the same day we are in Holyrood and Westminster. We would love you on the 23rd of October to dress up in leopard print and tell us your number. So, how long have you been waiting on the waiting list?
How long did you have to wait?
How long did you? How long do you still? Do you even know? Give us your numbers and take a photograph of yourself with the numbers in leopard print along with the hashtag ADHDAF, make it count, and please do tag us so that we can see those pictures and numbers. So if you would like to get on board with this campaign but you don't want to put a picture of yourself up or you don't want to divulge how long you've been waiting, etc., then you can do it anonymously by reaching out to our treasured community member, Louise. Her handle is @louise.louisa, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you can inbox her that on the 23rd of October, which is ADHD AF Day 2023.
And I think this is a good time to remind people that we're still selling Leopard Print Army fundraiser pins featuring the ADHD Awareness Month ribbon, with £5 from each sale now going to the Leopard Print Army Fund. The funds will be there for the Access Denied campaign if they need them. And if they don't, they will be kept in that fund and used for future activism and advocacy, which we will keep you updated on.
We do have one more announcement and then we promise you we'll leave you alone.
So one final announcement is that we, obviously, as part of ADHD Awareness Month, we are going to be doing a really special episode with our online community. So we do live blethers with our gold members.
Once a month.
Hour and a half where we chat and people talk about what they're up to, where they're at with their diagnosis, just any old crap that comes out of them.
Yeah, it's normally
not crap, but
some ranting, some tears, and then always loads of laughter, and we end up putting filters on. It's just silly get together,
Yeah.
but it's a really special thing.
So we do that every month with the gold members in the community, and this time for an extra special one, we're actually going to record it, and we're essentially going to be interviewing our community members. And that's going to be our episode.
That's our special episode for the community in ADHD Awareness Month. So if you would like to be on that very special episode, then you need to be a gold member of our community by... Well, the actual live blether is going to be on, what did we just say, the 25th. So Wednesday, the 25th of October at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
We will be on a live blether for 1.5, probably 2 hours with our community members making a very special episode for ADHD Awareness.
Yeah.
So you can join our community via the link in our bio on our socials or in the blurb of this episode.
Yeah, and if you're a little bit unsure about joining the community or you don't know, then this is a great opportunity for you to come and join and check it out and see what it's all about, because there's lots of great things going on, and especially now more than ever, there's so many people from our community that are getting involved in the things that's going on with ADHD AF.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's going to continue into the future.
And what's good about the Live Brothers as well is that you don't even need to talk. So you can just come and just be part of it and not have your camera on and not talk, but just to have been there as well. So we do have people that do that and take a lot from that as well.
There's zero pressure.
Yes. So I think we've actually done it, Dawn. Have we done it? That was so many things that we had to say.
I think we have. I'm just checking.
I just want to say I hope that we haven't in any way overshadowed Amy's amazingness, because it was just so important that we got all of this information out in ADHD Awareness Month. But massive thank you to Amy. And please, please do remember that we are you. We are right in the trenches with you with this medication shortage, and all we're doing, as you can hear, is our best. We're mucking in and we're doing our best. And if you have information, please share it with us. We don't know. We are trying to spin a million plates and come to terms with having ADHD ourselves, and now we're about to come off medication too. So we're all in this together. And don't forget that if you would like to see The Queen That Is Amy Polly live with me and a whole host of other ADHDF legends, then please do get tickets via the link in bio of our socials or in this blurb, because the London one's going to sell out pretty soon, I think.
I know, and rest assured, if I can find a way to be there, I will be there in full support as well.
Yeah.
Because I am FOMOing hard.
But you won't be FOMOing hard when you're throwing that university degree cap in the air, right?
I know, I keep thinking
about that.
Please, though,
can it be leopard print, yeah?
Oh my God, that would be so cool.
Obviously, it's going to be leopard print.
So cool.
I'll get Steph to make you one. All the discos can whip you up a little. What are they even called?
I don't know. Like I know what that word is.
I'm like, a cheese board. No, it's not that.
I don't know.
God knows. What are they called? A mortar board? No?
Is it called a board? I didn't even know.
I'm sure it's called. Anyway.
Who knows? I didn't ever think in my life that I would have an opportunity to wear one, so I've never thought about what they're called.
Well, you will.
But yeah.
You will.
And that's the thing, like I always speak about, is ADHD has robbed me of an education, and this is me reclaiming it. And that's why it's so important to me.
And that's why us as a community all need to support that. And I feel so terrible every time I have to promote the shows, but I have to. This is the means I have to promote them.
I want you to promote them. I want them to do well. I'm so behind you. Like, just because I'm not with you does not mean to say I'm not backing you 100% of the way, because I am. And that's the thing. And that's where we're at. It's like we realize that this is what we need to do, and so that we can keep smashing it.
Keep smashing things. That was what you said back in the day. Right, Dawn, these people are sick of us now. We really better go.
We better go.
So please take care of yourselves and, lean in and let's all look after each other, because we're all in this together.
One love, people.
Oh, shut up. Shut up. Bye.
Bye. Love you, boy.
ADHD has females. ADHD AF. ADHD has females. The podcast.
We did it for the acronym.